Hi, welcome to the channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about two topics that has to do with what happened recently in the city of Mexico City. This has to do, of course, with protests that that the local communities are were making at this Condesa neighborhood, and also the access to the beach, public access to the beach, which is public, you know, anywhere, almost anywhere in the world. There are laws that allows public to basically use the beach area, even if you have a private home, private property in front of the beach is always considered almost anywhere in the world that people needs, there is has to be people can enjoy it, general public can enjoy it, unless very specific code, unless there is a very specific codes, or if you live on a private island. I mean, private island is a private island. There are thousands of private islands in the world. In Central America, there are many private islands that of course, there's no public access to a private island. You have a beach in your own private island. There's no you know no way you can, by law they have the right, homeowners have the right, to allow anybody they want to allow to the beaches, to, whether this is fishing, because not just bathe on the beach, or have your suntan, lay on the beach, um, or fishing, or other activities, scuba diving activities, sky, there's so many sports activities that you do, of course, on the beach area. But so let's go to the first one. The first one is the perception. The perception of, is there a perception of hostility from Mexico toward foreigners, or from Mexicans? That's a that's a very sensitive question to ask ourselves, right? Is there a perception of, because the perception counts. That's what happened. Everything what went on this past week in the Condesa neighborhood. People smashing windows, graffitis on walls, and graffitis that weren't that attractive in some cases, were like a telling gringo this, I mean, there were a few things that doesn't, feel like, that's the sentiment of the Mexicans as a whole, mainstream Mexico. I think the Mexican people are very welcoming and friendly people. I've been to Mexico myself. It's, friendly, very compassionate, very, I mean, you name it. And we know I have met Mexicans in the United States too. I work with Mexican. I did, doing different jobs. They're nice people. Of course, they always accept the exceptions. Some some guys who there is always the bad apple. But the perception in Mexico from the Mexican people who live in Mexico toward foreigners hasn't changed because of this isolated. I want to still call it isolated incident that would happen in the Condesa neighborhood, which is, and the perception is that, well, is it like a foreigners? Is it like has to do this with what's going on in the United States? With the sweep, with the workers, with immigrants, and uh, it's hard to tell. At this moment, it's hard to tell really, but time will tell, guys. Time will tell what's because there is, in one hand, there's a perception that Mexicans are being expelled, are being kicked out from the U.S., and the other perception is that foreigners, a growing perception that foreigners are making rent increase in, in Mexico City particularly, and not just Mexico City. It could be this, Acapulco, Cancun, Puerto Vallarta. I mean, there's so many those resort areas, touristic areas, which is, in any case, Mexico, the country, is benefiting. Let's get that clear. I mean, that's one of the main industries that, that gives thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of employment to local Mexicans. Working at the hotels, restaurants, and many small businesses, and you know, thousands of small businesses benefits from foreigners coming to Mexico and enjoy the beauty of Mexico, the beaches, the whole. We know that, okay, but this perception that so the idea is that here, that the Mexican society as a whole, to take it like, most likely, government official has, giving their opinions about what's going on. What's and the mainstream the city officials in Mexico City, even the president took time from the recent press conference by saying that, well, of course, digital nomad can come. Of course, digital nomads can come, work, or and foreigners, visitors, tourists can come, as long as they follow the law. I mean, follow the. But is there a law? I mean, let's take very specific thing about issue about how did rent increase took place in that part of the city, or in many parts, not just the Condesa neighborhood. It happens that the incident just took place in that focal area, but it could be any other area. So things can pop up anytime, any moment in different part of the city. And the thing is that digital nomads make good money. I mean, digital nomads are foreigners who come, not just foreigners. Some Mexicans do digital, work, online work for foreign companies, and of course taxes are being paid on that foreign company base, wherever it's based. If it's based in Silicon Valley, well, they pay local taxes in state tax in California and federal taxes for the United States. But now, and there are many digital nomads. There are Mexicans and Mexican citizens who live in Mexico. Of course, they live in their own place, in their own houses. But these, digital nomads make 10, 15 times more than the average salary in Mexico. So they can afford to pay, $500 more for an apartment. But what happens is that there are so many, when the supply is less and the demand is more for apartments, for cheap apartment, for then what happens is the cost of living increase, and they have a point. Like I said, they have a point. Local communities has a point that now it is almost impossible for them, for local communities. I mean, blue collar workers in some neighborhoods in Mexico City to afford to even pay rent. Forget about buying a condo. I mean, it's almost it's hard to access to have a good down pay to make some enough money to pay a good down payment and be able to buy their own apartment. And as a Mexican citizen, they have, of course, they have the right to to afford to their own Mexican dream in a way that they can have access to a decent apartment for them and for their families. They're working, right? They're not homeless. I mean, they're working hard for so many years, and they can make it because the increase in rent money. I mean, it's just, and landlords, of course, are taking advantage of the situation in which these beautiful areas. There's big demands from not just digital moms, other executives, bank executives, other middle class, typical middle class Mexicans who are moving away from their own neighborhood, hard, rough neighborhood. They're moving to have upper class neighborhoods. So that's what's going on. And now, what happens with the access to the beach? Like I said, access to the beach, there are laws already in Mexico, but I think they want to reinforce it more. For if you're an expat with a private, home in front of the beach in Acapulco, somewhere, Puerto Vallarta, Cancun, or anywhere, that you think that part of your property, the beach, the piece of beach that is in front of your property that belongs to you, think twice. I mean, of course, there is a concern that when too many people are accessing, when it's wide open to the public, a part of the beach where you have your house, that could decrease now the value of the property. And remember that most foreigners who have, a place in front of the beach in these beautiful places, they're not renters. They bought those properties. So there are so many, thousands and thousands of expats that have been buying beachfront houses, and it's been an increase, of course, of the value, which is good for them. I mean, there's a profit too. It's an investment. Many people are investing in these houses in front of the beach, and now suddenly you have, there is an invasion of people coming to the beaches and do, the picnicking and this. I mean, the perception is that even safety could be, safety. That's the perception they have, that safety is a concern now. So, so I guess officials now are, putting there because they have to, of course, work on behalf of the communities. They elect these officials to do the right thing for them. and they're taking measures, not just with existing law, but new laws. The president of Mexico has, in one of these press conferences said, well, Mexico has the right, she stated very clearly, to access to the beaches, of course, without invading private property, without, and that's the concern of homeowners. So uh, what's going to happen now is that going forward is that they may have to, allow. There's a new trend, the new trend in which homeowner has to allow people, run around freely on the beaches, to do their, whatever picnicking and bathing, whatever sport, activities that general or fishing, even fishing, people do fishing on beaches sometimes, and but now there is a if the expats start feeling like a hostile environment for them, which it didn't exist before, that's a concern too. So there has to be a balance. There's a tighten rope. So it's like the officials now has to most likely walking on a tightrope in which in one hand they want to have the perception that very welcoming country, so don't scare off tourists, so they don't, and on the other hand they have to allow, of course, their own constituents, Mexican citizens, to be able to enjoy too the beauty of the country, the beauty of the land. I mean, think about that. If locals, who are born there, they can enjoy beaches, they can, so that's, that doesn't make, true sense. So there has to be a balance of everything here, of course, and they're working on that. They're working as we speak, on in progress. I mean, working on how to manage the public perception that there is a hostility. This is a PR campaign is in progress, most likely. That so don't to not to make it seem like Mexico is against foreigners, against people coming from all over the world to visit Mexico, but uh, that there is a welcoming still, friendly environment for foreigners to come, visitors and an expat who already live there, close to a million people, million Americans live in Mexico, so they don't start packing up and selling their places and going somewhere else, But I mean, some people are going to do that most likely. They're looking down South America. Who knows? I mean, right? There's a talk. There's on social media going statements back and forth. Of this is going to be a trending issue. That what the incident that happened, the Condesa neighborhood, is not like popping up all over the place like a popcorn. So those issues has to be worked out, and they're working on it, especially 1 year away. 1 year, we are just 1 year away where when Mexico is going to host the soccer World Cup, where in which are expecting millions of people coming to Mexico, not just Mexico, but of course the World Cup has been shared is going to be sharing with Canada and the United States, in different cities of these three countries, in which they're going to be playing, the World Cup, which is the maximum, the most view, the most popular event in the planet. It still is the World Cup, the soccer World Cup, which is every 4 years now. 2026, in the middle of next year, 2026 is going to take place, and Mexico is one of the hosts. So in this kind of environment, in which if this is trending and increasing issue, in which things are popping up, hostility against foreigners or visitors, that could be a PR nightmare for the Mexico FIFA, organizers, to attract people, and that creates massive amount of course, of revenue for the country also. Massive amount, because hotels are going to fill up. I mean, people are making reservations 2 years from behind, ahead of time. Most likely most hotels are already reservation, took place. I mean, everything is filled up already. But you don't want to have as a country, right? That have that perception that there is a hostility against foreigners, or this kind of it seems like a small event. Like it seemed that the protest was like a 300 or 400 people, which is not that many people. I mean, considering Mexico has a 20 million people, it's a huge city, right? 20 million people, and if you have 400 people protesting, that doesn't seem that much. But it's over mainstream media overblows of out of proportion of these kind of incidents. But if this thing, even small incidents like that start popping up, the perception goes wild. I mean, these things explodes, and people are watching. I mean, everywhere. Yeah. So I still believe that things are going to work out for the positive side, for everyone involved, of course, for Mexican citizens who wants access to the beach and who wants an affordable house, an affordable place to live. So, uh, thanks for watching this video. I'll leave you with that. I will keep you posted with any change in the laws in Mexico regarding, access to the beach, or regarding if there is going to be any, announcement for, like a affordable housing, public housing for from city officials. So keep you posted. I'll see you in the next video. And thanks for watching. And if you have, like these kind of contents, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe. Thanks a lot, and see you in the next video.